Hello everybody, here Diego from Bucaramanga. Today I'm in Bogota, the capital of Colombia. Every time I drink clean water, I wonder where did it come from? 2 years ago, when I was living in Prague, I joined the Springs Connect project, an initiative between 3 universities to connect several disciplines trying to understand the water sources in the border between the Czech Republic and Germany. In this project, supported by the European Union, I was able to share with experts from the Czech University of Life Sciences, the Technical University of Liberec, and the Technical University of Dresden. I am very grateful with every member of the team. I was able to meet amazing people, and I want to say thank you to every one of you. Especially to Professor Dana Kominkova, my research supervisor. I will show you today what I did in my research, and also I will give you my personal feedback as a foreigner being part of the project. In Prague, I studied nature conservation, and my research was about monitoring water springs and analyzing environmental factors influencing the water quality. And I did it with the help of a small aquatic invertebrate. This is the freshwater shrimp. In Czech, it is called blešivec. It is a crustacean like crabs or lobsters and is a very common species in the Czech-German border. My mission was to solve two main questions. Why is it absent in some spring habitats, and why some populations are more abundant? The scientific name is Gamarus fossarum and is usually not bigger than a grain of rice, but their voracity is a superpower because they are able to break down organic matter straight in the surface of plants, dry leaves, and detritus. Sometimes they can even predate other invertebrates. I cannot find Gamarus fossarum here in Colombia because their distribution is only in Europe. They usually travel upstream looking for better conditions in headwaters. That's why it's very important to study water springs. The occurrence of Gamarus fossarum was related with several environmental factors from different disciplines. The hydrology of springs is classified in 4 types depending on how groundwater reaches the surface. We know it is a spring because it keeps constant temperature during the whole year. It can be in form of a creek, a wetland, a lagoon, or artificially conducted with a pipeline. The plants around each spring are key for water retention, and they can influence the quality of water. I classify the vegetation in 4 main types of forest. The geology is also important to understand groundwater. The minerals from rocks can affect the water quality as well, and the porosity can influence the infiltration rate. Land cover in the catchment of each spring can also be influential. When it rains, the runoff gets in contact with pollutants, for example toxic metals from the roads and fertilizers from the agricultural area. For the water quality analysis, the team measured many parameters, and I categorized the values following the Czech legislation for raw water, where red is the most harmful condition for life. The toxic metals bound to sediment represent an important risk for biota. We analyzed a group of 7 metals: arsenic, cadmium, chromium, copper, lead, nickel, and zinc. And last environmental factor analyzed was human influence, depending on the level of disturbance from human modifications. This research received the award from the rector in the Czech University of Life Sciences. How did I do it? I performed 2 sampling sessions in the year 2017, one during spring and the next in fall. The sampling team visited each of 40 locations, measuring water parameters in situ with a multimeter and taking water samples to analyze in the laboratory. To assess the macroinvertebrates community, I used composed circular sampling, collecting 6 subsamples per spring with this cylinder, trying to avoid big disturbance to the ecosystem. I spent several hours identifying the hidden life in the samples and counting every individual at the hydrobiology laboratory. The land cover was assessed with the software ArcGIS, that allows to calculate the runoff catchment of every spring in the map, and then I analyzed the dominant cover in the surface, either agriculture, forest, or urban. The water analysis was performed by the laboratory of ZTAU, and the toxic metals in sediment were measured in Prague, preparing the samples with acid microwave digestion and using atomic absorption spectrometer to determine the concentration of metals. To sum up all environmental factors influencing the streams, I use a statistical software called RStudio with GLM, regression, and ANOVA models. What did I find? From the 40 analyzed springs, 25 had populations of freshwater streams in the samples. To make it easier to imagine the abundance of this animal in the water, I calculated an estimate of how many individuals would be in 1 square meter. The highest density of population was in Germany, with more than 2,000 individuals per square meter. The most abundant populations were in recurring springs, the ones that flow in a slope. However, there was no trend to generalize that this type of spring should have more gamarus. They can live in any type of spring actually. Also, in any type of forest. I found abundant populations of gamarus in springs surrounded by broadleaf tree like fagus, but also others by conifer like picea or mixed or just pastures. The Cretaceous sediment geology seemed to be present in abundant populations of gamarus. However, the statistics are not significant as well. Every rock type can hold gamarus fossarum populations. The toxic metals in sediment presented a clear trend where more abundant groups of gamarus corresponded to the lowest concentration of metals. The human influence was not a significant factor. They didn't seem to be affected in the selected springs. However, replacing the natural substrate may have a negative effect. Agricultural fields do not seem to be a problem for freshwater streams. They can adapt. Gamarus are detritivores, so they are not indicators of the cleanest water. However, I found that they can hardly adapt to very strongly polluted water, class 5, the red one, as we see in this picture with the rings. I also evaluated the direct relationship of pH and dissolved oxygen with the abundance of gamarus. I registered a trend where lower pH in water has smaller populations. The dissolved oxygen is beneficial for them as the most abundant population was found at 10 milligrams per liter of oxygen. However, they still live in harder conditions, so there was no trend for oxygen. Here, we can see the springs ordered by nationality. The most abundant population was in Germany, as I said, and many others were in Czech territory. About my personal experience, I was living in Prague with a different culture, and it was amazing to share with people from different disciplines, learning something new every day. With the project, I really appreciate this experience, being in the field, being in the laboratory, and also in the meetings, trying to find ways to communicate and to learn more, to gather information and to explain it better. This also helped me in my current job here in Bogota. I'm working for a company called Grilli and Hansen to design better urban environments, and it's useful some tools, for example ArcGIS, and some skills gathering information about water quality and organizing big amount of data that I was training in this experience in Prague.